Well, welcome everyone to Steve Savant's Money, the Name of the Game. I'm your host, Steve Savant, syndicated financial columnist and money color commentator. On today's show, choosing your advocate wisely, part 3 of our series on estate planning with estate planning attorney Elizabeth Westby. Welcome to our third segment, Elizabeth.
Thank you so much, Steve.
Oh, I feel like I'm in that movie, The Raiders of the Lost Ark. You know, they're inside, ready to find out which cup is the Holy Grail to drink from, and the actual knight who's been guarding it for 500 years looks, to Harrison Ford and basically says, "You've chosen wisely." Well, yeah, you didn't die, right?
Right.
So I'm looking, how do you vet? I'm unprofessional. Let's just say I know nothing. How do I vet? He's got a JD behind his name. Isn't that enough?
Right.
See, how does a regular person vet their advocate?
Yeah, that is the confusing part. And I think that that's the biggest issue here is not just choosing your professional, but doing the background. So I would look at 3 to 5 even different professionals. And of course, just as a review, your professional team, you're looking at your CPA, your financial planner, your estate planning attorney, probably a business attorney as well. You may need different types depending on your personal assets and issues. But to choose that attorney, not only are you wanting to do a little research, you want to know, has this individual been in trouble before? Are there open cases on, on civil cases or
Can I get to that in the public domain?
Absolutely. Everything's public. You can do a search on this. You want to ask family and friends. You want to see if anyone's used them before. This is why referrals are really important, because you want to see if somebody else was happy. But then more importantly than that, I just do Google search. I even Yelp reviews help. You go on Yelp, how are they rated? And if 1 or 2 are negative, you can expect that. Clients, not everyone's hitting them out of the park.
Sure.
But you want to get a feeling for them and then use your instincts when you're interviewing, and that's what it is. I don't call it consulting. I don't call it going in and having consultation. It's an interview. I'm interviewing for the business, and they're, interviewing me as well. So you really want to get a feeling. Is this somebody I can trust? Is this somebody who's listening to me? Is this somebody who understands me, understands what I'm saying? Is this somebody I would feel comfortable sending my children to if they had a question about something? And of course, these are relationships that you want to keep for life. You don't want a different financial planner every 2 years. Same with your estate planning attorney, same with your CPA. You don't want to have to change it up all the time. So really do your homework on the front end.
Little side note, after being married 42 years to the same girl, I've noticed that my wife has Jedi instincts. Some people call them women's intuition. I always look at the math, the finance. It looks good to me. I'm ready to sign. And then she starts her Q&A. And by the time we're done, we're not doing the business with this guy. So, you have to I love you. You have to have some street smarts here or defer to your better half, because I think sometimes together you can get good counsel in picking and vetting your right person.
That's right.
You said now CPA, I got a financial advisor, estate, business. I kind of see that because some people's estates, the greatest portion of it is their business.
Absolutely.
Okay, healthcare issues here, a different person for that?
So this is what we don't usually talk about, right? We usually talk about our professionals, which we just did a quick review on, but designations and vetting and choosing your designations for your estate plan. Who are you going to choose as your financial durable power of attorney? Who are you going to choose as your healthcare power of attorney? How about who's going to act as your successor trustee or your personal representative under your will? These are very important.
Elizabeth, I just want to say from my 35 years being in the business, I'm almost of the opinion now that I need a separation of powers here. I can't keep rolling this into one quarterback of my overall concerns, financial, healthcare.
That's right.
I'm trying to think, I need to really be diversified in my advocate positions, because my healthcare person, who I think is not my estate planning attorney, is not my financial advisor.
And that's the biggest message that I've been sending to my clients and finding that I really have to flesh out with clients lately is diversification of these fiduciary powers. So somebody wants to create a trust and they say, oh, my trustee is going to be my financial power of attorney, is going to be my medical power of attorney, just what Steve was saying. The trouble is then you're giving one person all of the power, which becomes very tempting, and you're less sure that you're going to be protected. So as far as what the profile of these individuals look like, because I think that's important to help you start thinking about who do I know who fits this profile. So let's start out with your healthcare power of attorney. The healthcare power of attorney is going to be somebody who is more kind, gentle, understands your mind as far as what you would want with your healthcare wishes. Perhaps you're very religious and you don't believe in assisted death or aided death, like morphine, for example. You need them to understand that and know that and be able to go in and speak for you when it comes to your healthcare decisions. This is a very different profile than your financial durable power of attorney. Financial power of attorney is somebody who is very logical. This is somebody who is good with money. This is somebody who you perhaps even would rely on or trust to give you advice as to what you should be doing with some of your assets. You don't want to just hand it over to your sister who has no idea about money or what to do about money and has had a ton of debt her entire life. That's not going to be a good setup for you. You're not ensuring or doing your best to protect yourself in the long run. Now, anything can happen. You could get the best profile individual out there, and then at the end of the day, they could still go and do something that would betray your wishes and your promises. But you would hope that setting this up properly is lessening that likelihood. And so the same thing with your successor trustee. Your successor trustee has to be somebody who is capable of not only understanding your mind and what you and in your lifetime, because you're married, your wife, and what your wishes are collectively, but somebody who is savvy enough to do accounting, basic accounting, somebody who would know and be organized enough to collect all of the assets and do an inventory for you, somebody who would, if you were to become incapacitated, would be able to care for your family members according to your wishes. If you don't have anyone in your life like this, that's okay. There are businesses, third-party fiduciaries, that do this professionally. And that's a great load off of my mind, in my personal opinion. And I even have a lot of clients who place the third-party professional as their secondary choice, right? And that's sort of as a backup. But beware, as with anything, you don't want to just Google the first name that pops up without doing your research on the business, right? So I have another horror story for you. Unfortunately, there's a client who had designated properly because she didn't have any loved ones. She was never married. She didn't have children, etc. So she designated the third-party fiduciary, a professional company, to represent her as the successor trustee in the event she became incapacitated. Well, at the first blush of having a medical issue, which was far less, concerning than what the successor trustee or this third-party fiduciary made it out to be, the successor trustee and the fiduciary put her into a home. She pretty much took control of all of the assets and unfortunately started taking advantage of the senior individual by using the assets improperly. So this ended up becoming very expensive. This poor woman's estate had been lost before the end of her life, that's the whole reason why we have these plans, so that we can be sure that our medical needs are taken care of, that our wishes and property are taken care of. And she was completely exploited by this company because she didn't do the research on the particular company. So yes, the company is good. The idea of third-party fiduciary is great, but you need to do your research and be able to flush that out.
This sounds like what I'm about to bring up is too young, but what about guardians of children? I mean, what's with that? That's got to be the biggest decision if you're under 50 and you have kids.
Absolutely. So, and even grandparents, because a lot, and you're seeing it, a lot of baby boomers have custody of their children's children, their grandchildren, and a lot of them need to do that estate planning portion. So guardians, absolutely, that is a huge issue, and you need to make sure that you're designating somebody who not only would be able to care for the child, but then you're using that trustee portion to care for the money for the child. So the guardian's really just about the money, about taking care of the child itself. Are they going to be able to make sure this child is loved and taken care of and lives in a good home and goes to school and has whatever religious training, if I want that? Are those things going to be taken care of? But then the same for when you're elderly, and that's what the best part about the trust is. instead of having to file for guardian conservatorship if we become too elderly, we use our trustee, we use our successor trustee to act in that regard. So this is even more of a reason why it's important to make sure that you vet those designations and diversify your designations, just like in financial planning.
Don't forget to watch our next segment, Don't Rely on Someone's Opinion, part 4 of our series on estate planning. And keep in mind, before moving forward with any of the ideas on our show, always check with your tax consultant, your legal counsel, and your financial advisor. You've been watching Steve Savant's Money, the name of the game.